She made $1.1 million on OnlyFans. That's incredible. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video, and I will give you free access to my OnlyFans. Just kidding. I don't have an OnlyFans. Not yet.
How's it going? I'm Justin Khan from Justin.tv.
All right, so I read this interview that Amaranth did, who's the most popular female Twitch streamer, about how much money she was earning off of OnlyFans on Investment Talk, this Substack newsletter, and I thought it was a pretty great interview, and so I want to do my own react to it. She did this interview anonymously at first, but I feel like it was pretty interesting to see her break down not just her business of being a Twitch streamer, but basically being this super powerhouse creator online. And I thought that some of the things that she talked about investing and it was very interesting because a lot of creators that I talked to don't have that perspective. I'd actually met Amaranth at a party in Miami a couple of months ago, only briefly. We just said hey, but we didn't talk about any of this, and I'm going to kind of walk through this interview and tell you what I think. All right, we'll drop the link to the interview down below. You should read it. You should check it out if you haven't. What's incredible to me about OnlyFans is that it actually worked. My friend is a DJ in LA, right? And he says he's much more in the culture than I am. He's like, every girl he meets has OnlyFans. It doesn't have stigma anymore. It's just, like, a lot of people have this side hustle if you're a cute girl, and it's like an easy way to make some money. And a lot of them are not even getting naked or having, doing hardcore sexual stuff on OnlyFans. So, what's interesting to me about OnlyFans, it's kind of like those cam sites like YY and stuff in China, where there'd be like, the Chinese took this model that was like almost like the karaoke model, where like you'd pay girls for their time and then put it online. And so you, as like this, random dude who's maybe has trouble with women, you don't have a girlfriend, whatever, you're like out there talking to these girls. You're willing to pay these girls for their time by buying virtual roses and Ferraris and stuff, and getting their attention. It's kind of like Twitch, right? And what happened was that this was super popular in China, and then I think OnlyFans is the first platform in the West to do it for this more romantic way. Twitch obviously has some of these dynamics with getting the attention of streamers by donating, but it doesn't have the kind of same level of romantic undertones. So Bloomberg reported that the company's in talks to raise new funding at a valuation of more than $1 billion. Reported OnlyFans was profitable, had generated $2 billion in total platform sales in 2020. And with their 20% cut, which is their average cut from creator sales, they took home $400 million in revenue. And then the site exploded. So this guy, Connor, thinks it's hard to believe that they're trying to raise money at a valuation of only $1 billion. I agree with that. That seems insane. $1 billion for a company doing $2 billion in total platform revenue is a great deal. Maybe there's some risk, especially with the growth that they're experiencing. They went from 20 million users to over 130 million today, through the pandemic. And even if you think that there's risk, right, in maybe the payment processors, like what we've seen in the last couple of days with like them being threatened to be shut off by Visa and MasterCard, the amount of value on this kind of network is incredible. I mean, like, look, Twitch, what's Twitch worth today? People say between $10 and $20 billion. So my guess is the revenue here is probably like outpacing Twitch's revenue growth. So anyways, seems like great value. Like if someone was like asking me, I'd probably throw in some bones. All right. Okay. Here she breaks down her monthly. Last full month, this is May. Subscriptions was almost $497,000 on OnlyFans. Tips, $138,000. And messages, $487,000. That's a guap. She made $1.1 million on OnlyFans. That's incredible. So it sounds like most of his messages, which confirms what I was kind of talking about, which is this is like a bunch of people who want to get Amaranth's attention. They want to feel connected to her, probably in this romantic way, right? Later on in the interview, she talks about, actually, I don't even know if this is an interview, but she talked in another interview about having some random guy she'd never talked to thinking that they were married. So, the downside of monetizing like this is you got a lot of crazy stalkers and shit. And then she makes $189,000 a month off Patreon. It's not nothing. Mature, plateaued, or slightly declining. $70,000 on Fansly a month, which is new. 10 to 25,000 on Instagram based on sponsorships, and $5 to $15,000 on Twitter. TikTok, YouTube, Twitch is 133,000. Even though she's like one of the most popular streamers on Twitch, not making a lot on Twitch. She's putting 8 hours a day into Twitch, and so that's top of funnel. Basically, it's like marketing for her. Let's compare this against what I'm making, $500 a month on YouTube. Wah, wah. So Amaranth's history is basically when she was 20, she started doing cosplay content, signed up for Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Patreon. And then she rejected OnlyFans at first, and for a better split, which was a huge mistake. And then years later, basically right before COVID, joined OnlyFans. The type of content she's doing is not fetish. It's vanilla content, tame stuff. It was a real balancing act, trying not to cannibalize her existing site. So she's like basically putting out all this like sexy content on Instagram and in Twitch, and is trying not to cannibalize it. And now apparently, according to this article, is doing topless content on OnlyFans as she's trying to grow and keep the novelty factor high. I mean, that seems like a trap. Anytime you're in a business where you have to do more and more hardcore stuff over time is not, that's not great. Okay, so Patreon and OnlyFans are recurring revenue in a sense. I know FinTwit is absolutely obsessed with companies like Adobe and Microsoft getting that recurring revenue multiple. And I found Patreon previously and OnlyFans now is extremely powerful due to the passive auto revenue recurrence. So that's pretty interesting. Like one thing is that she's like pretty up on like what is valuable, right? Like as a business. And maybe that's not, this probably shows my intrinsic biases, but like I wouldn't have necessarily guessed that at first. The auto renew on OnlyFans, the fact that the subscription is really powerful because it creates this recurring revenue. And she also is aware, so churn on a personal content platform is much higher than software, but there's a pretty good chance that someone who joins once will join again, even if it's not consecutive. That's also super interesting. She really understands that. It feels like OnlyFans really just got it in terms of the functionality and creator comforts, and that the feature set is much better than in Patreon. I think OnlyFans is interesting because it seems like OnlyFans really caters to the creator, and that is something that like Twitch did. She does a partnership with an OnlyFans knockoff called Fansly that she's pushing here. Take rates are also less likely to put under pressure when you cater to sexy content. OnlyFans is like, she thinks it's kind of the most reliable and steady business because catering to sex workers is like something that's not as competitive, which is true. I think that's right. Like, I think OnlyFans might want to go mainstream, but they'll never push the sex work off because it's so much money, at the end of the day. And the risk in saying, okay, we're going to transition entirely to mainstream so that we can maybe raise up this like better investor multiple. It's like too big of a risk, I think, for a company to take, which is kind of what you've seen play out with these. This article happened before OnlyFans announced that they were going to shut off porn, but they rolled that back. Like one of the problems with OnlyFans is if you're a sex worker or online, cam girl type worker, you can get pushed out of your bank because they don't want your business, and there's probably a payments opportunity out there, which is true. For sure. It's kind of like with the weed cannabis startups, creating payments for cannabis startups is like a big opportunity. She says, as I understand it, it's ultimately always about pressure coming from the big banks or credit card rails. Prior to this interview, you told me it's all about the product funnel. Now you have several million followers across all the platforms that you currently exist on. Clearly you're aware that funnels are important. Can you riff on that statement? So the answer was like, it's really interesting here. It's a social media version of Buffett's you only have to get rich once. You only have to go viral, build up a massive audience once, and then you regularly post and update them and try to keep them engaged. I think what's interesting is like a lot of people outside of social media think, people just get lucky, whatever. They're popular because they're hot. But like what this shows me is that there's a lot of, what this says is there's a lot of understanding of how the internet works and a lot of strategy that goes behind it. She's a strong believer that as a social media personality, you should be on all platforms, which diversifies your risk and allows you to cross-promote. People are omni-channel. You might have started off as a Twitch streamer, but you want to be on every platform because it enables you to monetize better. And then it definitely makes sense to have a few different options, things at the bottom of the funnel, so you're not missing a potentially big part of the audience that are super committed. So like people might not be interested in sexy content, but they would love to support you by buying merch or go with the energy drink brand you're sponsored by. So basically what she's saying is you monetize and there's different, diversify your monetization to appeal to different segments of your audience, which is cool. With physical merch, there's a huge logistics issue to contend with in comparison to 20% only going to OnlyFans, which is much more attractive. There we go. OnlyFans is a digital only product, which is easy. she started to focus on having staff and outsourcing everything else. You got to stream for 8 hours a day on Twitch or film hundreds of takes and edit them down to a 15-second TikTok video. So basically she doesn't have leverage on her time, right? Because she's effectively paid for her time. And so she has 3 full-time salaried people and 1 part-time doing everything from laundry, editing, getting groceries, booking travel, photography, cleaning, and everything that involves, or everything that doesn't have to involve her. So she sees this as a business and also as a transient phase in her life and plans to move on to other things. She's making like almost $2 million a month, right? Between all those things. So that's a lot. For a 5-person company, that's $25 million a year. That's pretty good. Like think about that compared to a startup founder, right? Like if you have a $100 million exit as a startup founder, which is probably like top 1%, you maybe have 1 or 2 co-founders, so maybe you had like there's a third of that. You probably got diluted 50% through the life cycle of your company, so that's you're chopping 1/3 of $50 million, right? So maybe like 16, 17 million bucks. That's probably like 1 year of Amaranth. This could be better than having a startup. So she's taking the money and plugging it into the financial system, which I think is really interesting. And saying she saves like 90 to 95% of it at this point, which is crazy. And it says, I think my attitude towards investment is something of an anomaly in the influencer space. I mean, that's true. Most people are buying Bugattis and shit. Everyone else I know who cares about money is really deep into Bitcoin and shitcoins at the moment. And AMC, giving influencers money to invest is probably a really bad idea, lol. She also invested in a certain e-commerce company in 2017, which is up 1,500%. She's out there getting caked on her investments. That's pretty cool because, most people would be set on like, oh, I want to build this company. I want to build out my, my empire or whatever. Like sometimes investing the money you were going to do in your own business in a better business is the way to go. She's also living modestly, fairly economic, no frills car. Try not to do lifestyle creep, which is super smart, especially if you are working at a job that requires your time. I see so many people who they're working at a hedge fund, they're a lawyer, whatever, their lifestyle creeps up to however much they're making. So even if they're making $500,000 or $1 million a year, well, now they're spending, the after-tax amount of that is, right? And then you're trapped working at it, so you lose your freedom, which is the most important thing. And then she says she would love to put in money into OnlyFans at a $1 billion valuation. So sign us both up for the SPV. So how does she react to people who don't like to rate this kind of content? Try not to associate with them. I don't mind if it's not their cup of tea. Many of my influencer friends are vloggers or streamers who don't make sexy content, but as long as they don't treat me like a lower class of citizen, I get along with everyone. It's tempting to just feel happy when the numbers are high and feel terrible when the numbers are low. So once again, this goes to a lot of what I say. It's easy to live our lives for the external, how things are going. Like if things are going well, we feel great. If they're not going well, we feel like shit. No matter who you are, when you get that thing, whatever your goal was, there's always going to be another goal and another goal and another goal. And that's a hedonic treadmill, and it exists whether you're in entrepreneurship or sports or you're an online content creator. And so that's tough. She says some people meditate, other people hide, to be honest, I could never really fully cope with it until I exceeded my own expectations, and now I'm more zen with it. That's the human experience. I think some people, they need to make it, and then after they hit that, then they can disconnect. 5 to 10 years from now, she wants to pivot out of social media, maybe run a charitable org that she's seeded, and that's incredible. So what's your favorite quote? Modified Bezos quote, I'm not my stock price, or whatever your metric is, right? I love that lesson. I'm not my stock price. I'm not my views. Be kind to everyone on the way up. You'll meet the same people on the way down. I love that. This is an amazing interview because I think it's a great lesson for anybody who's out there creating content who is either making it or gonna make it. Like there's so many gems in here. Lifestyle creep, minimizing it, so that you can have the freedom to do whatever you want in the future. I think she seems to realize like this stuff, it's come and go, easy come, easy go. Well, maybe not easy, but like it can come, it can go. Just because you're making $1 million a month now doesn't mean that's always going to be there. And then investing in it, thinking about like one lesson here is like she was looking for products that she wanted to use for her own merch store and then invested. And that is often the way that you can tell if something's really working. Like, do you love the product? And are there more people like you out there? My co-founder, Emmett, invested in Amazon back in 2007 because we used AWS at Twitch. Well, it was Justin TV at the time. And obviously that was a pretty good investment. Invest in what you use, assuming you're representative of a large set of people. All right, well, let me know what you think of this video. Tell me if you like it. We'll try to do more reacts. I'm always looking to experiment with new formats, so we'll do some more reacts in the future. Send me things you want me to react to, and make sure to like and subscribe to the video, please.